Let's knock out our second concept we sketched out here. I'm going to create a new artboard. I'm going to try to keep everything in the same file because it just makes life a lot easier. I'm going to go to edit artboards and just going to draw a new artboard, or I can just copy the same size if I want to. But just looking for a space to work on, and we will export this to the client. We'll have a concept on each page presented. And we'll get to that in a little bit. So here we are. That's our very rough sketch, but it gives us an idea of where to start. So we're going to do kind of this classic idea. This is done a lot. I think it's a very common theme you've seen in logo design in the last 10 years. So I think it's a very approachable concept, a concept the client will understand, and it's kind of a safe, to me, a safe concept. And that's what I'll get into this a little bit, how when I send 3 concepts to the client, I like to have 3 different concept types. One that's very basic and easy to accept, very basic logo. It's not going to be pushing any boundaries. And then you have kind of an intermediate logo that's going to push a little boundaries. It's going to be a little bit more different. And then I have a third option, which will be the most challenging, different type of logo. It's definitely going to stretch the boundaries a little bit and be a little bit more different. And so I like to kind of send them some safe ideas and some challenging ideas because you want them to challenge and stretch themselves to try something a little bit new and different, but you don't want to give them just new and different because they may want to have that safe option in their back pocket. Every client wants to have that safe option, which may feel boring. The concept may feel predictable or boring, but it's something that they're more likely to choose. And as a logo designer, it's about getting that project done and making clients happy. So there's a little bit of creative kind of things you have to do to kind of get that client to feel like you're giving them what they want, but also you're stretching your design skills and showing them your creativity as well. So with this one's pretty simple. We're just going to go ahead and create our X first. So we're going to get our pen tool. We're just going to draw a simple line, nothing too extravagant. We're going to go ahead and make that a stroke. And one thing we could do to make this more exact is we can go up to here to view, and we could do snap to point. So this is going to snap to particular points on the artboard. It's a great way to make perfect straight lines. You click, you're going to go down, it's going to kind of snap a little bit for you. It's going to make a perfect kind of line. And we're going to make this a stroke and go ahead and adopt a gray color here. And we're just going to round, we're just in our stroke panel, just going to like to round the cap and round the corner and increase the size. Great, so now I'm going to make a perfect plus. So I'm going to just hold down Option and drag. I'm going to go up to my transform and I'm going to rotate this guy 90 degrees. And now we have kind of a plus symbol. And we're going to make sure all that's evenly aligned by going up to my align panel or align options. I'm just going to click on all the center ones, all the ones that say center, all the way across. So I think there's just 4 options. So now it's centered all the way around. So now all we have to do is rotate it by 45 degrees. Just going to transform, rotate. Let's go ahead and do a preview, make sure 45 degrees is correct. And now we have a perfect cross. It's going to be the same width on all 4 sides. So now we have our base here. So now we need to do our 4 icons. So this is where it gets really exciting because we get to really kind of work with iconography and take some reference photos and see what we can do here. There was another concept here that I had that had kind of a espresso machine. I think I kind of want to work on that one a little bit. But each one of them has a coffee bean. So let's do the coffee bean first. Well, coffee bean will be easy. Just going to do the ellipse tool. You can always use a reference photo to kind of get an idea of shape and size like we did earlier. And then we can go ahead and draw our little shape here. It's kind of like a curved shape that goes all the way across. And to kind of make this look a little bit less computerized, we can use the width tool and kind of make that a little bit wider, make that a little bit smaller. Just like that. Just make it a little bit more of a natural kind of bend instead of just all the same thickness. So I also want to have natural bends and curves to the bean because no bean is a perfect oval, kind of has a little bit of edges to it. So just making it look a little bit less inorganic. We want to make it look organic. So one thing we could do is we can go up and do some warp options. We can go to warp, or we can go to distort and transform, and we can do a little bit of these. Let's see what a roughen will look like. We're going to preview it, and we're going to do a smooth point. And we're going to do it pretty much as low as it goes. We just want little small kind of bends in there. So you notice how it kind of added kind of some interesting shapes, makes it look more like an organic bean. And I wonder what happened if we added like that just the way it is. Just kind of giving it more of an organic shape. Of course, we can make it smaller, make it match, and change our width accordingly. And there's kind of our bean. Of course, we can always go in and use the curvature tool to make sure that is how we like it. So now it's time to sketch our little espresso cup, and I love to use reference photos just to kind of get an idea for shape and kind of the best way I can really take this high gloss photo and simplify it to a very, very simple basic icon. So I'm going to go ahead and take this photo, I'm going to go ahead and save it and bring that into, this is just from Google, and just want to go ahead and bring that in. We never want to copy a photo completely. We want to have some unique qualities to it. Of course, we're going to simplify it so much that we're not going to be infringing on any copyrights for the photo, because we're going to be doing such a simplified sketch of this. So I'm just bringing this in as our reference photo. I'm going to bring this down, and we're just going to start to kind of get an idea for the shape of this shot glass. I'm going to we're going to do some pen tool practice here. We're going to go ahead and see how we can simplify this a little bit. So I love using the curvature tool, so instead of doing the pen tool and tracing the shape, I think the curvature tool is more technically accurate with curves. So I'm just going to do a straight shape and complete the shape. And I'm going to get my curvature tool and go ahead and make my curves that way. I just feel like it's a little bit more realistic of a shape. So now I'm going to do everything in strokes so I can kind of see how everything's coming along. And we can go ahead and do a circle here for the top. Going to make sure that matches. Okay, and then now we can start to kind of simplify this a little bit. So we definitely want to show kind of this shadow here where you have the thickness of the glass. And once again, you can go ahead and click over here and just make a solid shape here, and we can use the curvature tool to make that big curve downward. So I'm just going to select the center, drag it down, and it's going to match it perfectly. So I love the curvature tool. So I'll make sure that's a stroke. So now we have that part. We need to kind of have, you notice how there's two different colors here. You kind of have the froth, and then you kind of have the deeper espresso. So I want to kind of show that as well in our picture. So I'm going to see if I can draw, gotta remember to use that curvature tool. I keep wanting to do it the way I've always done it, but since really discovering that curvature tool, and I've been using it a whole lot more. So now I can use that to bring it down, and then we'll create another layer that'll kind of show the deeper espresso portion of the coffee. So I'm just kind of tracing this around and getting that curvature tool and bringing it down, kind of show where it starts and begins. And I probably need to bring these points up here. It's only this part's going to be darker. Great, and you also see, let me reduce, sometimes I like to reduce the transparency of a photo so I can kind of really see what I'm doing a little bit better. And so you'll notice how there's these kind of reflection lines here. I want to be able to emulate that in a really simple way. So I'm just going to do kind of a simple line, white bar that goes all the way across. Very, very simple. That's going to just be a white bar. Great, so we have our basic outlines. We no longer need the reference photo. So here's kind of our basic shape. So we can thicken all these lines up a little bit. Just like that. We want to have nice thick lines when we do any kind of iconography. Anything for a logo design, nice thick. You don't want to be too thin. And then you zoom out. I see students do this all the time. They'll have this really thin design and you move out and you can barely make it out. But with nice thick lines, you'll see that it'll really translate really well. So here's where we can add shades and color, or not color, but shades of gray. So this will probably remain white down here. And this is our dark espresso, so let's make that kind of a dark color. This will be kind of a medium shade, so let's make it a little bit lighter. Kind of our froth, if you will. And let's go ahead and move some of these strokes on the top. So you're bringing some of those strokes on top. Okay, so now we have our reflection that we want to have. So we're going to reverse that, make that a fill, and make that white. And so there's our little reflection, and what we could do, we can make it maybe a little bit thicker. You can never go wrong by making it thicker because it'll show up better at a distance. And what we're going to do, because right now when we put this on a background, any color, you'll notice that you have the white color there. And we want to have that punched out. We don't ever want to have that be shown on the logo on a transparent color. So we could just select everything, and we can get our shape builder tool, and we could just punch all of that out so it's punched out. So what we could do now is we can thicken the stroke even further. We can also do some round caps and some round joins to soften the edges. And we could probably even afford, if we zoom out, this is probably the size it's going to be. Let's go ahead and start to bring it in so we can know the thickness of the lines that we need to have. Go ahead and bring it in. Maybe have a little bit of a different weight there. So there's our little glass, our little espresso glass. I did another little version over here that I think looks a little bit more simplified, kind of like the rounded corners a little bit. But I do kind of enjoy how we have the two-tone look there. So what I might do is just kind of bring that in here to be a part of this logo.